Hello, Nina. I am
Hi.
so glad that you said yes to being a guest in this interview series called I Am. It will be a free talk about yourself, and we also encourage our listeners, if they find something catchy and inspiring and something useful in our
Yeah.
talk today, to click the link and to help the hospital in Romania, which are very challenged right now.
Mhm.
So thank you so much for being here and for
Thank
sharing
you.
with us who you are. And for start, I challenge you to quickly tell us in 30 seconds who you are.
In 30 seconds. Okay, well, my name is Nina. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I started out as an architect, but I would mainly say that I'm an entrepreneur because this is, I'm sort of active in many different areas of life, and all see it with a entrepreneurial spirit and mindset. And so started out as an architect. I'm a speaker also and a coach, and that's what I do and where I like to help people get ahead in their lives and live a truly good life.
So you do many different things and you keep rolling projects in different areas. How do you succeed, and what is your way of staying productive in so many areas?
Well, I think it mainly starts out with something which one can maybe not grasp so easily, is that I'm super grateful for everything that I'm allowed to do. So I don't see it as something that I have to do, but I'm actually excited to be able to work in so many areas, and grateful that I have these opportunities and possibilities. And I think that's a mindset which already allows me to be so much more productive, because I don't see the weight of things, but I see sort of the blessings. And it's really come from, different areas. I started out as an architect, and it's just when I actually was at a turning point in my life, and I left my husband and sort of had the feeling that I wanted to reinvent myself and had to reinvent myself also out of financial reasons, that I started out in different areas and got really curious about how to live a truly good life and what my values are and how I want to lead my personal life, but also my business life. And so I went on a quest, so to say. And that's how I also ended up being a coach and a speaker, just because I was curious about how to lead a truly good life. And that's how I actually opened up all these different business areas. Started out as an architect, and now I still work as an architect, but as I said, I would mainly call myself an entrepreneur, because I'm active in all these different areas. And what I mainly need in all these different business areas is really an entrepreneurial mindset.
So when did this quest begin, and how did you felt this experience at that moment, and how maybe your perspective changed in the course?
Well, I must say that I've always been curious about these topics, starting maybe when I was 15 years old or something like that, and actually was very deep into philosophy and also positive psychology up until maybe 25, when I really entered the workforce, or 23 at the time, and I was very career oriented, super ambitious, and sort of lost myself in my career as an architect. Worked on a very, very high level internationally, and so it was all about work, work, work. And there I met my husband at work, and then I was always torn between being a wife, a mother, and then also still super ambitious in my career. And so I had no more time to really ask myself deeper questions about life and about philosophy. It just just got lost in the everyday frenzy of being successful in so many different areas. And I was very unhappy in my marriage, and got unhappier sort of with every year that passed, and came to a point where I just knew that I would lose myself if I stayed on. It was, I would say it's the most courageous decision that I ever had to take, because I grew up very conservatively with values, you know, like you've given you a word, and so it's in good times as in bad times. And so I tried everything to make that marriage work, and felt that I didn't have the right to, as I felt, to sort of give up on that, give up on my vow. And also I was very scared of what it would do to my children. So, but I knew that if I went on, I would just stop to exist, so to say, as a person, and also with, you know, with my heart and soul. So I took the decision to leave him, and really took that opportunity to sit down and ask myself how I wanted to live. I knew that it was sort of a big break and a big turning point, and I didn't want to go on as if nothing had happened. And I was in a situation before, a few years earlier, where one of my children was very, very sick and almost lost her life. And that had already brought me to the point that I was starting to ask myself all those questions. For a very long time, we didn't know whether she would make it through or not. And when you're sort of faced with those difficulties in your life, then it's actually a big sort of chance to look at yourself, to look at how you live, and if that is really the life you want to lead. And so I don't know what it was, the universe trying to wake me up or whatever, but the signs were sort of getting very intense that I needed to look at myself and needed to make decisions on how I wanted to live. And that's how I sort of went back to what I cherished at a younger age, philosophy mainly, and but also neuroscience and positive psychology. I've already been, or always been, an avid reader, but read even more and sort of really delved into those topics until I started finding questions for myself, and started to learn more about myself and open up, and that's how it sort of came through. I wrote a book about what I'd been through, and which is called The 7 Secrets to a Truly Good Life. So for me, it's always sort of the quest how to live a truly good life, and not just any life, but your truly good life. And that's how it all came about.
So please share with us what are the main core of covering in wellness, and of recovering the joy, and of having a truly good life. What do you have to have as a mindset? What do you have to act on? And how do you construct for yourself such a truly good life?
I think it has a lot to do with courage, because that's sort of the main thing that we tend to avoid as humans, is the courage not to, you know, jump from a bridge or anything like that, but the courage in everyday life, that you're actually courageous enough to look at yourself, see the mistakes that you're making, the courage to ask yourself if the person you are now is the person you want to live with the rest of your life. The courage, you know, just to ask those difficult questions and then actually act on the decisions that you've made for yourself. So that's a very personal quest, but for some people it takes a lot of courage to get up in the morning, and it's just sort of to go into life with more courage, to have those difficult conversations with people that are close to you or important to you, to show up differently at work, to, you know, just be a bit more courageous. I think that makes a whole lot of a difference. Then the second point for me is what I call, or what is called in the Asian philosophies, the beginner's mind. it's to go about life and actually see the blessings that we have, because most of us go through life with closed eyes, and they don't see that, you know, the trees are blooming, or how the light falls on, you know, just a leaf from a tree, or you know, just the joy of waking up actually in the morning, the fact that we're giving the blessing of life every single day, and that it is in fact a blessing. So to sort of really focus on those small things, the fact that we have enough water to drink, enough food to eat, that we can make choices. So many people on this planet don't have the luxury that you and I have. So I think that's also a very important point, because then those difficulties, you know, you have a different perspective on the difficulties that sometimes take up so much space, but you go about things with a different mindset and a different perspective, and just more gratitude in your heart. Then I think there is connection is really, really important for us humans, because that's what gives us the most strength, but which can also cause the most harm. If we have fights with our loved ones, then it tears our heart apart and, you know, drains us from energy. But if we have great connections and really true deep connections, then this is something which helps us go on with life and go through difficulties. And so that's a very important point. Everything that we build and create for us, we want to share. It makes no sense to, you know, to work hard and I don't know, be financially affluent, but not be able to share it with your loved ones. So that is something which is really, really important. Then I would say the next point is what I call oneness, is to realize that everything is one, that we are all interconnected on Earth, and, you know, that there is something higher than just good and evil, but there's, you know, it all comes together. And if you realize that, then there comes a point where you want to fight less. Then it's less about, you know, what you want and what I want and how to get this, but just sort of sit back in peace and realize that it's all one. Then good health is a super important point. And I mean, for most of us, mainly at this moment also, we'd say that maybe this comes first. I mean, there is no quality in life when we're in pain. And so being fit and full of energy is just what makes a whole lot of difference. So that is important. And sometimes it seems pretty trivial to, you know, eat healthy, work out, or drink enough water, but it is really what keeps us going. And yeah, and I mean, people talk enough about the pandemic, but you know, it's times like these which show how important it is to have a healthy body and also a healthy mind. So that's definitely a very important point. And then it's just also for me the intensity to want to live well, to actually make a conscious decision to want to lead a truly good life, and be very aware that it is a choice and that we're not victims of life. So that's, I'd say, the main points.
Thank you. It's touching and revealing. And you as a coach, let's say these days when around us is chaos, and maybe people are afraid looking at news, and the habits are a little bit lost. Let's say someone comes to you and wants to put in order things and to feel more alive and more happy with the daily schedule and with the result of his action. What would you recommend to have that well-being state nowadays?
Well, the way that I work is that I ask a lot of questions that people have no answers to. And I think this is really important because we are very much used to seeing things or thinking of things on a very superficial level, but it's hard work for our brains to think deep. And so the questions that I ask is questions like, who are you and who do you want to be? And there is no immediate answer because we are many me's or I's during time, and it's something which is not constant, who I am and also not who I want to be. My values today are maybe not the values that I had 10 years ago, and maybe not the values that I want to have in 10 years. So it's really sort of going deep and asking questions with no immediate answers, and learning to not fear the fact that you don't have any answers. But just sort of give those questions more space and sit with them for a while, and enjoy that quest for a truly good life. So I don't have okay, the solution is 1, 2, 3, but I think there is a different truth for everyone, and your truly good life would probably not be the same as my truly good life. Your strengths are not the same. Your values might not be the same. And it's really sort of to enjoy that journey to your inner inner truth, because I think that's what it's really about, to be truthful with like really, really truthful with yourself, and be able to look at yourself without judging, but just with an open curiosity. And when you start doing that, then you realize a lot of things about yourself, some very pleasant and some not so pleasant. And then you can actually make a decision what parts of yourself you want to keep and what parts of yourself you'd maybe like to change. Because that is something that we know, is that we are able to change and develop ourselves every single day.
How do you learn to sit with yourself and to sit with your lack of answers, let's say, and to be at peace and to cherish yourself in that state of not having answers?
Well, it's a very good question, because it's not easy. And at the beginning, it's not only pleasant thoughts that come up, but it's our brains are so used to going into a direct evaluation of every situation. So if you stop doing something, you're not working, you're not doing something with the kids, you're not, I don't know, shopping or whatever you need to do, or preparing meals, but you just sort of sit with yourself, like real time, just with yourself, no book, no films or whatever. It's quite uncomfortable at the beginning. And as our brains are constantly active, at the beginning, so many thoughts come up, and then so many worries, and then your fears, then because then you have more space, so fears come up as well. And it's really, and this is sort of the same for me, and this is why I keep on saying that I'm an entrepreneur, because it's the same thing that you have to, the qualities and strength that you need as an entrepreneur is to be able to sit with your fears and go through them and persevere and persist and not sort of stop the process. Because that's what we usually do, is that, some sort of negativity comes up or a hurdle, and then we stop. And instead, to just continue on and still be happy about that quest and persevere through these uncomfortable feelings. And of course, for some it's just sitting in silence, meditating with music, which makes it a bit easier. But you can also just go on a walk, or that's you can jog or whatever. It's just really having time to roam. And it's not about, roam is probably not the right word, because that's a lot about thoughts. And there are 3 different levels, that we work on, is thoughts, just thoughts and fears and feelings coming in. then there is our mind, which you know, the ratio which comes in and says, is this the right thing to do or not? And then there is consciousness, and the goal is to be on that third level of consciousness. So to leave the thoughts behind, to stop having an active mind, and to come to that level of consciousness where things then really start opening up and start making sense.
How do you architect your day now that we are in a pandemic state, and maybe you are home?
Yeah. Well, it's, you know, the kids are home as well. And so they're homeschooled. We get up at 6:30 in the morning, which is actually quite late for us, because we usually have when there is school, we have a much earlier start. But we get up at 6:30, then we all go for a run. So I have 2 girls and a huge dog. So we all go for a run together, and then we come back. The girls make their breakfast and then start their school day. So to say, at 8 o'clock, I don't have breakfast because I do intermittent fasting. I've been doing that for many years now, so I don't eat in the morning. And then at 8 o'clock, I'm at my desk and start working and have meetings, like just a normal work day. And then we have a lunch break together, which is nice now, because usually the kids are gone until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So we actually get to have a lunchtime. Usually we always make a salad, or I cook something quickly, but both girls and I love salad. So we usually have a variation of that. And then they work, they have school until the afternoon. And I just tend to work depending on how much I have to do, whether I have client meetings in the afternoon or evenings. And then we spend the evening together. We go out for a stroll with the dog, or here in Hamburg, it's quite liberal, I must say. So we go to an ice cream parlor, or, you know, just do something nice. We have great weather for weeks now, so that's a nice treat. And just go for a walk and spend some time together. And then, yeah, depending on the evening, we just play board games or watch a movie or read, or, you know, just talk, have dinner. So nothing fancy, but that's just what we like to do.
But very connected, and
we're very close. So I'm very lucky.
Time and sharing activities, so it's union there.
Yeah, definitely.
How do you see the link between being a mom and having so much entrepreneurial activities? How do you keep the balance of time spent in being a mom and in your entrepreneurial activity?
Well, I've never stopped working. So I was actually at the time when I was pregnant with my first child, I was still working for a big architecture company. And so I stopped working the day before I gave birth, and then I was in hospital for 3 days, but then sort of at home continued working immediately, because I had big international clients, and they were sort of counting on me. So
this
I never really
entrepreneurial mindset.
I just loved my work, and so it was sort of I never really stopped. It changed a lot, because and I love being a mother, so it's not like I want to sacrifice sort of my motherhood for my business. I just love both areas of my life, and I'm deeply invested in both areas of my life. And at the time when the kids were smaller, it was more sort of being really, really well organized, because, you know, especially as an architect, work can often go on forever. You can work days and nights and not even realize the difference between day and night. So that was a challenge to have to learn to stop working at a certain time, because then I needed to fetch the kids or whatever. So I've become super, super organized with my time. I have it dialed down sort of to the minute, and have like my appointments, like it's sort of very, very strict and very scheduled, everything. I'm a sort of a half control freak. That's probably my German side. And that's how it works, because I'm well organized on the one hand, but it's also that now that the kids are older, they're almost 14 and almost 16, that they are very much involved and invested in what I do. So I'm very open in how I communicate with them. They know why I work, so it's not sort of a distant thing or a distant nuisance for them, but they know that I have to, you know, make our lives work. And also, yeah, that they're sort of, they know what I do, where I am. They're proud of me, I hope. And so it's sort of, it's just part of all our lives. And I share that very openly, so that they don't have the feeling, oh, she's away again, but that they know, okay, she's away because she has a speaking engagement in Los Angeles or something, you know. And then they're excited for me. They help me choose my outfits. They, you know, it's just sort of, it's not my business, but it's sort of a family business. And that's great, because then it's not something, you know, which I keep from them, and which then becomes maybe something negative for them, because it keeps me from spending time with them. But it's actually something that they feel that they're a part of. And I could have never done what I did in the past 5 years if it wasn't for their support. So they're extremely open, extremely supportive. Usually I travel a lot, and you know, they're very organized. It makes them grow up quicker, because, you know, they cook, they do the food shopping, they wash, they iron, they, you know, they do everything to keep everything going, and to help me. And that's really good. I mean, they grow up a lot faster than other kids may do, but yeah, that's just how our life works and how we make it work.
It's a growth process for them, and they contribute to your project also. Very, very nice. So when you have a speaking engagement, how do you prepare?
I'm actually much better when I speak when I'm really well prepared. So some people, they have the gift of the gab and they're able to just talk freely on stage. That's not me, sadly. Maybe I'll get there one day, but I have to be super, super prepared. I really like to go deep into projects. So when I have a speaking engagement, I really see it as an assignment. I don't have the same speech for every stage, but I sort of rework on the specific audience, on the specific subjects, and I make sort of a like a real assignment out of it, and go deep with, you know, books and studying and everything. And then it's a whole process until I get to sort of my finished speech. So it's weeks of preparation. And then I actually learn my speeches by heart, because then every single word for me counts. And so I learn them by heart, and then I learn the gestures that go with it, so that I know exactly where on stage I stop and when I smile, or, you know, just it's as I say, other people do it differently, and I totally admire that, and I would love myself to be there one day and be able to speak freely. At the moment, that's not what I do. So it's a lot of preparation, and it's always sort of seeking perfection, even if that doesn't exist. But, you know, I really sort of want to give my very, very best for the audience. So I'm very much concentrated on what I deliver and how I can best serve the audience, and at least really touch one person in the audience and maybe change their lives through one sentence, one word, one smile. One never knows.
How do you make your speech reflect you? How much of yourself do you put in a speech?
Well, that's always, yeah, it's always full of myself, and so far that it's being an architect. I'm very sort of creative and vision oriented. So it's a lot sort of if I have a presentation, then it's a visual presentation, which is, you know, in my style of also how I would work as an architect. So it's my style, it's my way of, you know, speaking, smiling, the jokes that I make, the way I'm dressed, etc. So it's a lot of just my personality, which is very different from, I mean, of course, everyone is different, but it's sort of not the usual speeches that people tend to expect. And that's something I deeply enjoy.
So this is a part that I think connects better with the audience, to put your personality strongly in a speech. But how do you what do you think it's the most important for you? The most important thing that you can accomplish by giving a speech?
The most important thing is really touching the audience. I think that's so. It's for me. It's always about some sort of change or transformation or deeper connection. And if there's just this one person who comes to me after my speech and says, you know, what you said there really touched me, or it really hit home, and I now want to change this or that in my life, or I've understood something on a deeper level, then I've accomplished what I wanted. So it's I don't need a lot of people to clap or whatever, but I just want to touch them on a deeper level. And if I've achieved that, then I've achieved everything.
Beautiful. Where do you get your energy on a daily basis? The energy that keeps you going and doing so much, and being joyful and smiling and being kind and loving to all the persons around you.
Well, I have very healthy habits, and I've sort of always had them. I was lucky to grow up with parents who did lots of sports as well, and we've always had healthy foods at home, and no alcohol and no cigarettes. And so I already grew up sort of in a healthy environment, which is just pure luck. But I've been always able to keep those healthy habits. I've never drank alcohol, I've never had cigarettes, I've never taken drugs. So it's just not who I am. I've never had the need to delve into any of that. And I love fresh food, freshly cooked food. So that's also just, yeah, a lot of luck, I must say, of what I like and what I prefer. And I do like sweets, but I'm able to sort of be disciplined in that. And so it's a lot of, you know, just eating the right foods, taking care of my body. I like to do sports. I like to be outside. I have a huge dog, so I actually need to walk outside a lot, no matter the weather. So that's sort of just those healthy habits, and to have had them for, yeah, just all of my life just makes a huge difference. I'm generally very health conscious. So I love reading health books just as much as other people read crime novels. It's all very fascinating for me. So I always try to be really on top of the game of, you know, the newest scientific research on all sorts of health issues. So it's just a subject that I like, and which is closely linked to energy. But it's also, I think energy is also something which is very closely linked to a mindset. So it's a choice to, you know, to be energetic and positive. It's also, I think, a precondition, to be very frank. So some people just don't have that, and it's more difficult for them to generate positive thoughts. It's something which comes very easily to me, and which I'm also blessed with, because I just truly believe that life is a gift, and even in hard times, I have this inner driving force, which always wants me to go on and cherish life and see the good sides, and that's just part of who I am. And people have tried to take this part out of me, but it hasn't succeeded. So it's an inner strength that I have, which I'm very grateful for. And I think that's which allows me to be so productive and energetic, is that I just mainly really love what I do. It's, you know, not every day and not every task and not every person that I interact with. So there's hard days, or, you know, tough conversations and bad moods or whatever as well. Just normal human being. But I tend not to go deep into those. I'm pretty quick at reframing situations. If something comes which is like really tough or really negative, then maybe for, you know, half an hour I'm angry, but then I'm like, okay, what could be sort of the positive side of this, and what can I learn out of this, or whatever. So
I was going to ask, what secret coach tool do you use at reframing situation for the rest of us, but you already gave it to me.
So it's just it's actually a habit which you can install. It's to stop your negative thoughts fairly quickly. It doesn't mean that you can't cry, or that you can't be super angry at something, or, you know, it's healthy to have those emotions, but it's not healthy to have them for weeks on end. So if you know, you can rant or hit the walls or whatever you want to do for 24 hours, but then you have to look at yourselves and say, okay, Nina, stop. Enough is enough now. So, you know, just get a grip on things and look at the positive side, or, you know, change your perspective, go outside, run for a while, or, you know, eat some chocolate, whatever you need to do to come back to that inner strength, and then and then go on. And I mean, it's, you know, it's, for me, it's always, I'd rather go on living with myself as a happy person than to have to bear my unhappy self. So it's just a choice that I make. And for me, you know, a lot of people tend to ask or tell you you should live your life as if it was your last day on earth. And for me, that is sort of the wrong perspective. I like to ask myself, if you would go on living forever, hundreds, thousands of years, how would you like to live your life? Do you want it to be difficult for thousands of years? Or would you rather not, you know, have fun, see the good sides, you know, enjoy it, have fun at building a business, have fun at spending time with your kids? It's really a choice. And I mean, not for everyone and not in every situation. And I don't want to make sort of, there are some people who really have very tough lives, and I don't want to sort of make it smaller than what it is. And I do feel for them, and I do grieve for people. But we have many more choices than we believe, and we have much more inner freedom than we are, you know, willing to accept. And also with the, you know, with the lockdown, so many people said, oh God, I can't stand being with my children for longer than 24 hours. And, you know, there were so many negative things. Oh, homeschooling is hard. Oh, spending time with your children is hard. Oh, you know, yes, maybe, but it's also, wow, I get to spend time with my kids. That's awesome, you know. And oh wow, they're being homeschooled. So how can we make this fun? Or, you know, it's just, you can always see either the negative sides and the difficulties, or also the possibilities that are hidden in everything. And whatever side you choose, you will always be right. If you decide to see all the negative, it's going to be really tough, really tough. If you decide to see sort of the fun that you can have in everything, then it's going to be pretty fun. So, you know.
How do you combine, let's say, this joyful part, this fun, this gratefulness with self-responsibility? Because I saw the difference between live the rest of your life like it's your last day, and live it like you have thousands of years to live on. I see a difference of responsibility here. I don't know if it was your intention.
Could you explain that more in depth? What do you mean exactly?
I mean, if I had to live just one more day, I could live it in many ways that brings me joy, but doesn't affect it's not so important for others how I choose, because it's a very little frame of time.
It's very true. It has completely different consequences, and that's a good point you're touching on, because I feel that part of being or leading a truly good life for me is always connected to being a good person, a good human being. So I'm very conscious about my own values, and very conscious then whether the choices that I make are based on my values. So I'm very sort of, I go deep into that, but with every really sort of active choice that I make, when I go food shopping and I buy this or that product, is it in line with my values? And so it's always sort of my main value is being loyal to my inner truth. So I'm very sort of strict with myself on that. And it doesn't mean that you can't have fun, but it means that you think twice on things. So if you want to, I don't know, overindulge, it doesn't mean that you're not disciplined, but it's an active overindulgence for a limited time. So, I don't know how to make that sort of more understandable, but you can choose for yourself to lead a healthy life, and you can still eat ice cream, because you then choose the ice cream. You just don't eat any, but you try to get sort of the best ice cream, homemade or whatever, and then you really cherish it because it's something special. And it's not just, you don't just consume it, but it's more like an investment in yourself, in your fun, in your family time or whatever. So it's sort of being more aware and conscious of your choices and the consequences that it has on yourself, on your inner circle, but then also on society as a whole, or the planet, or so I think that's a very, very important point that you're touching on, because as I said, leading a truly good life for me as a person is very much linked to being a good human being, and that's also different for every one of us, and everyone makes different choices based on what they believe is necessary to be a good person. But when I say that I'm loyal, then I want to make sure that I really am loyal. And what does loyalty mean for me? And what does loyalty mean for you? And how can we find an understanding so that you feel that I'm loyal and I feel that I'm loyal, and things like that. So what is trust? What is truth? What is these different values, and really think deep on the meaning of each of them for yourself.
Thank you. If I ask you what is your life's purpose, and what legacy would you like to leave?
My life's purpose is very much linked to this topic of leading a truly good life. I want to make sure that this gift that I've been given, that I've used it to its full potential. So that's also something that I'm very passionate about, that I don't want potential to be lost. So if I have to look back at the end of my life and ask myself whether I've been successful, then it would always be linked to that question of whether I've used my potential to the full. When I ask myself this today, then I get very uncomfortable, because I know that I'm nowhere there of, you know, what is inside of me and what could still be brought out to the world. But that's something I'm actively working on, to make sure that the talents that I've been given and the opportunities that I've been given, that I really make the most of them, and serve the world by being who I am.
You certainly do. And as the final line of our interview, I want to challenge you to complete one sentence with a single word. Me, Nina, I am.
That is pretty intense. Me, Nina, I am here.
Thank you. Thank you for your presence and your warmth. And I appreciate very much that you opened up and shared so much of yourself. And
thank you, Raluca. Thank you so much for having me.
I think you touched so many points that are helpful for all of us to make our livings well lived, and to bring that well-being state inside.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And I loved speaking to you. And it was a big pleasure to see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raluca. Bye. All the very best. Bye.